And it never stopped from there. Then that just kept going down that line. Needless to say, I never reapplied to NP school. So
Yeah.
needless to say, you probably never reapplied to med school then.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah. So we have a very similar story in that way.
In this video, a super successful business owner who I actually look up to and has built a massive fitness coaching business interviewed me for her podcast, and she let me put it on my channel as well so that you guys could see it. So yeah, she's gonna kind of ask me about my journey, break down the entire story of how I even got into teaching in the first place, and then how I transitioned into fitness coaching, and what the last year has looked like and what the future is gonna look like, sort of the game plan. So yeah, super excited to be able to share this interview with you guys. So let's dive into it.
What is going on, you guys? Episode 8 here with Mr. Zach Rana. Did I say Rana? Rana?
Rana.
Rana. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, neither. You're like, but you get my name right. I'm
No,
your
you're good.
guest. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm super excited because, like I was telling Zach right before we started recording, this is my first podcast interview with someone that I don't know necessarily personally. Our first
Mhm.
student interview from an NLCA student. So I'm really excited. Thank you for being the inaugural chosen one for this. How's your day
It's
going
an
so
honor.
far?
It's an honor. It's going amazingly. I'm over in San Diego, so it's 8 a.m. my time. Feels good to, just got up a couple hours ago, so I feel good. How about you?
Amazing. My morning is going great. Nothing too crazy so far. Just taking care of the dogs. Did my morning meditation. Did some, pre-work before I dive into more work beyond this
Yeah,
podcast. But like the morning stuff, we were like wrapping things up, starting things off in the beginning of the day. But I was actually me
exactly.
and Jen. Obviously, your coach is Jen. We were just in San Diego.
Yeah.
Why did we not link up? This is so
Oh,
weird.
nice. Next time, you got to.
I know. We were literally just there. Not not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. And we stayed in La Jolla, but we were bopping around to like Little Italy. What are the other areas? Gaslamp area, PB. We were just bouncing around. It was
Oh
so
wow,
fun.
you got the full San Diego experience then. If you got to go to
Yeah.
all those parts.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was kind of rainy and cold, not gonna lie. I did not expect that from San Diego. What is going on?
Yep. I
But
know.
it was still a good time. Like we spent time at the beach. We spent our Saturday there, literally just we probably got like 20,000 steps just like walking around. There was this
Oh, that's
really cool
amazing.
bar that we went to called Cloak and Pedal. Have you been there?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, let me turn you on to this San Diego bar restaurant. It's like a sushi restaurant, but it was
Ooh,
really
I
cool. It
love
had like
sushi.
Japanese cherry blossom trees like all throughout. It was just a really
Mhm.
cool vibe. It was in Little Italy area, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I love Little Italy. It's a great spot.
Yes.
I
Well,
love
how
that.
long
What
have
brought
you
you guys to San
been?
Diego?
Oh, yes. No, you're good. I think there might be a little lag, but it's all good. Yeah, so we were just talking and Jen's like, "Hey, and Jen's like one of my best friends. So she was like, I have this companion pass that I need to use, which
Mhm.
basically means like someone can fly with me anywhere for free. And I need to use it by the end of March. Should we go somewhere?" And I'm like, yes, absolutely. We should go somewhere. I love to travel. And I've been wanting to go to San Diego. I haven't been in the last time was 11 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I know it's been a really long time. So I'm like, I want to go back. So
Mhm.
we just planned a girls trip. We stayed in a little tiny house in La Jolla and we literally just sat there and worked. And then we would went out at night and got good food, good dinner. And we would come back, get in the hot tub and then go to bed at like 8 p.m. because that's 10
Nice.
o'clock our time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a vibe, though. I love that.
No, it was lovely. Have you always lived in San Diego?
I've been here since I was 11. Before
Okay.
that, I was in Massachusetts on the East Coast.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, let's dive into all of that because not
Sure.
only have you lived on the East and the West Coast, but you actually just got back pretty recently from straight up living in Thailand, right?
I did, yeah. Yep.
Okay, okay. So, not only is this man multi-talented, teacher, fitness coach, was debating on going into healthcare, I know you talked about
Mhm.
too,
Yeah.
but a world traveler. So, obviously, previous career of teaching and potentially
Mhm.
going into healthcare, those are not super conducive to your obvious hobby of traveling.
Yep.
What were you thinking going into those careers? No, I'm just kidding. But like, how did you get into teaching, first of all? Like, that was always your passion growing up, or?
I had no idea I would be a teacher actually. I was dead set on medicine. For
Mm.
years, I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, my entire college career was built around getting myself into med school. And so I actually, like, my senior year of college, I was looking for something to do in my gap year between, like, I had just taken the MCAT and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a year, do something, community oriented, and then go to med school. And a recruiter reached out to me from Teach for America. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
heard of the program.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
No.
So, yeah. So, for you and anyone that's listening that's unfamiliar, Teach for America is a program where typically they recruit, like, recent college grads who are interested in leadership, and they place you in low income school districts that need teachers because there's a huge
Mm.
need for teachers in these areas. And so,
One sec, Zach. I can't hear you very well. Oh, there's something going on weird. One moment. Hold on. I like. Hold on. We'll
okay.
just dive right back in. Sorry, guys. We lost you for a sec. So if this sounds a little bit weird or discombobulated, that's okay. We're just gonna roll with it. So Zach was talking all about how he was going into medical career. That was like his dream. He got recruited into teaching and kind of like more low income areas, you were saying?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess maybe I can backtrack a bit. I started out wanting to go into medicine because of the healthcare disparities that exist, and also because there are so many preventable illnesses that people are dying from, like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, which all, if you make lifestyle changes earlier on, you can prevent all of that down the line. So, yeah, that was my motivation for going into medicine. I was like, I want to do something about this. I've been obsessed with my own health and fitness for, at that point, probably like 5 or 6 years. And I was like, I don't know why more people are not, taking care of their nutrition and sleeping enough and exercising, because it just makes your life so much better and you just feel
Mhm.
better.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, that was my motivation for going to medicine, and Teach for America aligned with my values a lot in that sense because they also, wanted to make a difference, and work with a younger population. And I was like, this is great. I'll get to work in the communities I eventually want to serve. So okay, instead of a year, I'll do 2 years because Teach for America is a 2-year commitment.
Mm.
So I started teaching 2019, fall of 2019, which was the year that I graduated. And as I'm sure you can guess, I taught for 6 months and then everything shut down because
Oh,
because
no.
COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so when everything shut down, I mean, up until that point, for the past 5 or 6 years of my life, I'd kind of had my head down and was just working towards this goal that I had set for myself without really stopping to think why I wanted it in the first place.
Mm.
And when everything shut down, I was, you know, it kind of made me stop and reflect and be like, wait, why do I want to go into medicine specifically? Like, I know what problem I want to solve, but why medicine?
Mm.
And I did some deep reflection and I started to realize, like, oh, I'm doing this because other people want me to do it and
Mm.
because it's a societal expectation. Like, I'm going to be treated differently if I become a doctor. And I wanted those, like, status markers more than I
Yeah.
wanted the actual job of being a doctor, because the more
Mm.
I shadowed doctors, the more I was like, I actually don't like this lifestyle. And I also don't like prescribing pills. like
Yeah.
that's not really something I'm big on, and doesn't really align with my mission in the first place. My mission was I want to prescribe less pills.
Mhm. Yeah.
And all the doctors I was shadowing in the field I wanted to go into, which was family medicine, a lot of the patients they were meeting with were too far along that path. And it was just
Right.
like, there's nothing else we can do. Like, you need to take this medicine or you're going to die, literally. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was like, this is not it. I need to find a different way. And I was loving teaching at the time, so I decided to stay on for 2 more years. So I taught for 4 years total, and then midway through my fourth year was when I started to, I guess, make sort of the transition into fitness coaching.
Yes. And that was 2023, right? Because you started your business February last year.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so happy anniversary.
Thanks.
First
Yeah, in
off.
2 days actually is the official
Wow. Oh my
1 year mark.
gosh. That's so exciting because
Yeah.
we caught you at the perfect time. Okay, beautiful.
hmm
So you worked as a teacher for about 4 years. And so did you teach through COVID times, like remotely?
Yeah, we went. It
Okay.
was that was a wild time. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were all trying to figure things out. We did a full year completely online.
Wow. And you're like a
Yeah,
brand new teacher at that time too, and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah. I had 6 months under my belt. I
"Okay."
was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really funny that you say that because I was coming to the end of, like, my nursing career at that time,
Mm,
and I felt so bad for the new nurses coming in and those people, like, graduating and starting in the hospital when all that was going down, and I'm like,
literally.
"This is madness. This is your
Yeah,
first introduction into the hospital?" Like, not only is it
yeah,
just regularly crazy at baseline, but
hmm
now you've got all of this added onto it and just trauma and death and
yeah.
fear and
Exactly.
protocols. It's insane. So props to
Yeah.
you for surviving that for
Thanks.
sure.
How many years were you a nurse for?
I was a nurse for about 3.5 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes. So my track was I was a med surg nurse and I became our charge nurse for a unit. And then I got like I was all about like, okay, any like certification, any extra thing I can do. So I got like my med surge like certification. And then I applied for NP school. And I thought, like you, my track was just to become, some type of medical professional. I just thought that was my track my whole life.
Yeah.
And
hmm
when I got denied for NP school, which I was honestly shocked by, it took me out of left
Yeah.
field. I was like, all right, well, I've got a year before I can reapply. Let me, dive into one of my passions. And, one of my passions is fitness. And I've
Yeah.
always thought about becoming just a personal trainer, on my off days from the hospital. So let me just
hmm
dive into that. And it never stopped from there. Then that just kept going down that line. Needless to say, I never reapplied to NP school. So,
Yeah.
needless to say, you probably never reapplied to med school then.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah. So we have a very similar story in that way. And it's
Yeah.
really cool that we also kind of both got into this side of things because this was our original passion in the first place, like being able
Yeah.
to help people proactively with their health.
Exactly.
You don't grow up being like, I want to own a health and fitness coaching business. That's
Yeah.
not something that's normal.
Yep.
Something that's more normalized is like, yeah, you go into healthcare, you be a doctor, you be a nurse, you do like XYZ, whatever,
hmm
without even being asked or thinking about, well, what is your purpose for wanting to do that?
Yep.
So you might
Exactly.
find yourself on the other end where you're being a lot more reactive and people are kind of a little bit too far down the line at the point that they come to you. They're in your bedside, you're seeing them at bedside, I mean, and you just have to or essentially help the problems that have already been caused from years and years and years of not being healthy. So now we're
Exactly.
kind of able to tackle it from the other end and avoid so many people from getting there, which is really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the
Yes.
mission.
Yes.
What
Well,
do they
what
say? Like people come to a hospital when they're sick, right? So
yes, literally. And half the time they are not even wanting to be there. And I'm like,
yeah. Yeah.
well, guess what, buddy? You're here and you need to take your medicine. So here you
Yeah.
go. It's
Yeah.
really funny. And I don't know if you have had the same experience, but I I think that being a nurse and having the experience of getting people bought into their care plan, because it's literally sales. Like you're there, you're as a nurse,
100%.
like you're a salesperson. You are
Yeah.
trying to get your patients to do what they're supposed to do with
Yeah.
their care plan, with their medicine, with their PT,
Yeah.
whatever that is. You have to really sell them on it. You would think sick people want to be better, but a lot of times it's not the
Yeah.
case, unfortunately, in my experience. So I found that a lot of those skills have translated. And I'm sure you probably have found the same with
Mhm.
teaching. What skills do you feel like have translated from teaching into running your own business?
Oh my gosh, so many. I think like being a teacher is like the best blessing ever. But I completely resonate with what you're saying about like as a nurse, literally, you have to sell the patients on the care plan. It was the exact same thing as a teacher. I had to sell my students on why should I do this work, you know?
Right.
And you know, of course, there are students that are just like they're going to do it anyways because they're scared of their parents or whatever, you know. But then there are other students who are like going to ask questions, so they're going to be like, I don't want to write this essay, like I don't want to
Right.
do this, you know. So yeah,
Yes.
100%. Selling was a huge part that I didn't even realize I was developing
Yeah.
through doing that. I think another really big one was active listening. Um,
Mm.
when I first started as a teacher, I wasn't very good at active listening to my students. And that would actually cause more behavior issues from them because if they didn't feel heard, they would act out. And so I studied a lot of books on leadership and on communication for specifically to get better as a teacher. And those active listening skills made like student buy-in just so much easier. Like if I could just literally it's like a two-word acknowledgement, right? It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be like a half hour sit down conversation, like two
Right.
words of acknowledgement to a student of like, oh, like I hear you, like I see what you're going through right now. Boom, just like changes their
Wow.
emotions. And that's been like, I mean, I would say one of the biggest skills in coaching, as I'm sure you could attest to, like being an active listener. A lot of my clients tell me like, wow, like I just feel so seen and heard from you when I talk to you.
Absolutely. Not so much just like a number or another, client, whatever. It's like, yes, that it's the little things like the body language or, the, like you said, just those listening skills, making them feel heard, making them feel acknowledged. It goes a really, really long way. So
Exactly.
you were obviously living in Thailand. Were you teaching there or what the heck were you doing there?
No, I was
Okay.
just running my business and I was done.
Okay. Amazing. So, walk me through this timeline. So
Yeah.
you started your business in February, but
Mhm.
were you coaching or were you teaching then? Like when did you make the transition?
Yeah, so great question. So I was finishing up my fourth year of teaching last school year. And I was also an instructional coach at that time. So I was coaching other teachers, which actually, speaking of skill building, I think that was a great skill to be building of like learning how to basically get adult buy in and also coach people who are older than me because I'm
Yeah,
26 and like I was like telling like 30 to 40-year olds like how to teach.
totally.
So that was a good learning experience, you know, get over some imposter syndrome and things like that. But anyways, by like halfway through my fourth year, I'm really big on systems. And so I had systematized pretty much every detail in my classroom to the point where I wouldn't have to do any work outside of school hours. That was like my big thing.
Wow, that's
My
huge.
first 2 years, I was like, you know, I mean, most teachers will tell you this, like it's more than a full-time job because you're
Yeah.
working all day and then you go home and you grade and you lesson plan for the next day. So my first 2 years were like that. And it was like 60 to 80 hours a week. But
Wow.
finally, by my fourth year, I had gotten it to the point where I was just working when I was on school grounds, and then at home I wouldn't touch any work.
Nice.
And that, but then I was also used to working 60 to 80 hours a week, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna work on like my passion, you know, like I've always wanted to start
Nice.
a business, so I'm gonna start building this thing. And so, yeah, I started building it. Like I decided on it in January. I started building it out, took on my first clients in February. And then sort of just kept growing, got to the point where I had like a decent system down. I was like, okay, I think like I know how to deliver. I'd set up like Trainerize and, you know, the basics there. And I had like, I think 5 or 6 clients by May.
Mhm.
And so in May, uh, I kind of had a choice. I was offered a leadership position at my school. Um, and then because of like timing and because of some of the trips I had over the summer, which was planned, it didn't end up working out.
Mm.
And my principal was like, "Hey, if you want to be in leadership, you need to be working year round. You need
Yep.
to be on school campus year round." And I was like, "Huh, like I don't want to do that." You know, like I love like one of my favorite parts of teaching was the summers and like the big
Yeah,
breaks and
right.
because I love traveling and I've been like every single break I tried to make an intention to like travel somewhere because I feel like I just learn so much every time I travel and I get so many cool experiences and meet new people. So that, at least at this time in my life, is a priority for me.
Mhm.
So, anyways, basically, leadership position was like, yeah, no. this isn't going to work out. But you could teach next year. And I was like, that's that. I had already told pretty much everybody on leadership in my school. I was like, I'm not going to teach another year because like I don't feel like it's pushing me to grow anymore.
Mm,
And so I want a new challenge. So they already knew the headspace I was at, and we we ended on really good terms, because I was basically like, okay, well, if my only option is teaching, I'm not coming back.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so at that point I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm going all in. Like I want to make this work because I love doing this. I have a couple of clients now, so I've at least like tested the waters, and I know that it's something that I do enjoy. I just need to get better at it because right
Yeah.
now, like I suck, like I don't have the systems in place. Like I
Right.
know I love doing this thing and I know I have the knowledge behind it, but I don't know like all the little nitty gritty details and the
Yeah.
systems and the coaching pieces. So
And you're a
um,
systems guy, so you have
yeah,
to
I'm a
have the
systems guy.
systems in place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
But yeah, so then that's when I was like, all right, this is it. Pretty much every entrepreneur I follow has always said like, burn the boats,
Mhm.
put your back against the wall, and then you'll make it work. Because up until that point, I was devoting maybe 5 to 10 hours a week on the
Yeah.
business. It was not a priority. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I have no job, so I
Yeah.
better make this work.
No, I love that, and wow, I feel like there are so many similarities between us because obviously you're someone that you like that next challenge. You like there to be that next level of something you can grow into, which is like that leadership position in teaching, and when that didn't align with your life goals and you're like, "Okay, I can literally just keep teaching and teaching and teaching every year until I die," like, what kind of life is
Hmm.
that? It's not
Yeah.
what I wanna do.
Yep.
So and you already fell in love with the grind of, working that 60, 80
Yep.
hour weeks. You're like, all right, I've got all this free time, quote unquote free time. You're still working a full time job. You're like, okay, great. I can do all this other stuff in my time off. I was so the same way.
Yeah.
I was, working full time as a nurse is a little bit different than a teacher. Schedule, but it was 3 12s per week. So I had 4 days
Right.
off during
Yeah.
the week to
Mhm.
I'm like, "What I'm sorry, what do people do? They don't have a second job?
Right.
Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
I
You're
know.
really just, like, watching Netflix?" I'm so confused.
Right.
So, I guess, like, if you have a family, you're taking care of your kids and things like that, which
For
is
sure.
fantastic, but
Yeah.
I did not. I do not.
Yeah.
I have dogs. So, I was like, "Look, I need to do something to take up my time," and that was, jumping into this. I was also at the same time literally just for fun because it was like this scavenger hunt to me. I would, like, Shipt shop. I don't know if you know Shipt or, like, Instacart and stuff. I would literally, like,
Oh
grocery
yeah.
shop for people. I literally just thought it
That-
was the most fun thing. It was like a scavenger hunt. I'm, like, getting all these, like, barcodes. I'm like, "Oh, let's go
That's so
find where the
funny.
green beans are," Just so stupid. So but it was so fun, and, obviously, I would recommend it to anyone. If you need to make a couple extra bucks, go start
Yeah.
grocery shopping for people, I promise. It was a thrill. Anyways,
That's
so
so funny.
you I
I've
know.
never heard anyone describe grocery shopping like
Well, it's
that.
really funny because I hate grocery shopping for myself. Like, my
Yeah.
husband does the grocery shopping, he takes care of that.
Right.
I can't stand it. But when it's for other people, then I'm like,
It makes it more
"Okay,
fun.
what are you guys eating? Oh, that's interesting. I've never tried that before. Let me try that next time
Oh,
I go."
valid. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, anyways, you learn a lot about people through their groceries.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
It is. So, anyways, I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. And then so you fell in
Mhm.
love with the grind. You're like, okay, let me do something with my time. And then you got to the point where it's like, okay, I can make this choice to continue doing something safe. I've got the benefits. I can go back. They want me here. I'm good at this. Or I can fucking burn the ships, go all in, go across the seas to Thailand, get this business off the ground. Okay, but now I really need to make sure that I've got the systems in place because I've got the caption. I've got the passion. I
Mhm.
burned the ships. I'm doing what, I love in my life within my lifestyle. Now I just need to figure out how to make this actually work and be sustainable. So is that at the point where NLCA came in or when did that happen?
Yeah, 100%. So I joined NLCA in, I want to say July or August, somewhere around there. And yeah, I'd just gotten back from my summer trip. Um, and I was, just in the mindset of like, I am going to make this work. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to figure it out. And I also need help to do that. I want to learn from people who have the systems because that's what I'm lacking right now. I have the knowledge and I have like the, communication skills, but I'm missing all the back end stuff.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I signed with NLCA, I think August, or I guess like August was really when I like kickstarted things. And I was planning out my trips at the time because I mean, one of the reasons I left my job too was I was like, I am young and I want to travel the world and I have literally no obligations. So this is the perfect time to do it. Um, so I knew like one of my intentions was I am going to travel the world this year. And I wanted to set myself up for success before I did that though. I was like, I need to like earn this trip. And I also need to go into this trip knowing that I can deliver a really good coaching experience and have a really solid business model before I leave. So
Yeah. Right.
August and September, I really like just like put my head down, did, followed everything that NLCA told me exactly to a T. I think I like tripled my coaching business in
Oh
a
yeah.
month and a half.
Holy
Um,
shit.
Dialed in all the systems. I used to do check-ins like one-on-one, and I didn't really have a format to them. Like one-on-one, I mean like over Zoom. Switched
Mm,
everything to asynchronous because I knew scheduling-wise it was going to be impossible,
yeah.
to book a call with every single one of my now 15 clients while
Yeah.
I'm on a different time zone to them. And I also knew that it was inefficient to do it that way
Mm,
because like we'd be sitting down for half an hour and like the people I'm coaching are really busy high achieving people,
yeah.
so it's like
They don't
it's
even know how
not
to do that.
ideal for them to like
Yeah.
set aside 30 minutes to an hour every single week to talk one
Hmm.
on one. It worked much better to just do those asynchronous check-ins. So anyways,
Hmm.
yeah, once I had those systems in place, then I went on my trips and I went to Europe for a month and then Asia for 3 months, and
Okay.
yeah, it was great.
Wow. Okay, so let's back up because we covered a lot of time there. We covered a
Hmm.
lot of, and magically now my business is 3x. So obviously you were working with Christy, Coach Christy at that time,
Hmm.
yeah?
Yeah.
So what are the biggest things that you were able to put into place that really made that shift for you and really move that needle forward? Like what were the biggest movers and shakers that made that difference?
That's a really good question. I would have to say I'm trying to think in terms of top threes because I like to, break things down
Yeah. Love it.
into those. So, what are my top three um, things? Okay, I'll start with the first one. So, the first one was building my confidence in what I had to offer,
Yeah.
and the way that I did that was through a couple different things. But one was really nailing down my resources because one of my goals, and I came in telling Christy this, I was like, when people sign up for my program, I want them to like see it and be like, holy shit, like this is like mind blowingly so much more value than I thought I was getting. Like that's
Mhm.
the experience I want them to have when they get it.
Yeah.
And I think that NLCA as a program itself was really good at doing that for me.
Mm.
Like when I signed up for the program, I've done other mentorships before, and when I signed up for the program, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like wow, they literally thought of everything.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I kind of wanted to bring that same energy to my clients. So building out, I mean, we can go into specifics if you want, but I'll just give like a couple examples of like,
Sure.
building out my onboarding process, building out my resource bank. I eventually went on to develop my own course, which I have now, and
Wow.
just all those like things that just add that wow factor to
Mhm.
clients made it so much easier for me on a sales call to be sitting down with someone and being like, you know, hey, I know my program's going to change your life because
Yeah.
I have the work to show for it and I have all these resources to show for it. I would say that was the biggest thing because I've always heard, and I'm sure you've heard this as a student of sales yourself, that conviction is the number one thing in sales. It's literally, I mean, yeah, you could focus on all the tactics and what to say at what point, but conviction is the number one thing. If you
Right.
fundamentally believe that your product can change someone's life, then it's your
Mhm.
obligation to coach them through their own limiting beliefs. Um,
Literally. It should almost be
yeah,
like you are doing them a disservice if you are not bringing them into your program. Like, you are not
exactly,
helping. Like, you are literally not doing your followers or, these potential leads or, like, you're literally leading them down the wrong path if you don't
exactly.
bring them in. Yeah.
100%. Exactly. And I think this is actually a belief. or sort of a change in belief that really helped me, is that, it's almost like, and I think I got this from Chad, honestly, where it's almost, not almost, it is selfish to let
Yeah,
my own discomfort stop me from helping other people. So
absolutely.
I really keep that one with me. Every time I have to do something uncomfortable, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
There are people out there that need my help,
It's
that I can
huge
help.
because
So
if you think about it, I don't know how you came across NLCA, but I came across the path of before NLCA was a thing and I had crossed paths with Chad, he had reached out to me and sent me a message.
mm,
And if he never did that, I don't know where my life would be, you know?
right?
So it's literally so, and I talked a lot about this with Chad on his and I's podcast episode, but it's so crazy how one DM can literally change someone's life, and it would have been fucking selfish of Chad to keep that information to himself and not
Yeah,
reach out to me.
exactly.
So, I'm so blessed that he did. So, it's the same for, yourself. It's the same for, like, all of us coaches, where sometimes people don't know what they need or they might be too nervous to reach out or they're just kind of waiting for the invitation, and that just might
Yep,
be, like, their personality or whatever. And when you reach out, you're kind of like just opening that door for them to be like, "Oh, wow, you're right. Like I do need this." And
exactly.
who knows where that path will lead eventually to them
Yeah.
going on to change more lives or influence their family or just that
Mhm.
generational knowledge too that they can pass on to their kids and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, literally. I literally have screenshots from my clients where they tell me, like, I am so glad that you reached out to me or you held me accountable or whatever it was, because you literally changed my life. And I read those things before I jump into the DMs or before I jump on a sales call. And I'm like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it.
Mm, that's huge, and that's so smart to, like, hype yourself up, look at that
Yeah.
before you go on their call,
Yeah,
and like, "Yeah,
literally.
I do got this, like, we can change some fucking lives here." That's really dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got I know you're on the path of naming 3 things, so you've got
Okay.
the
Yes.
self-confidence.
Yeah, that was a
Okay,
huge piece. The other piece was the um, the actual the actual systems themselves,
yeah, yeah.
to dial in processes. So what really helped me was seeing examples. In fact, I actually think I saw examples from your company, because your company is called Strength and Harmony, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I saw examples from your company, and
Nice.
I loved them so much because it gave me a vision of, like, oh, this is what it can look like. And then, of course, we all have our own values that we want to bring to our business, our own spin on things. And so that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, what are the values that are most important to me? What's the spin I'm going to put on, the way that I do my check-in form or something like that?
Mm, yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think, like, seeing the systems that other successful coaches are using,
Mhm.
and then, like, being able to just get so many ideas. I remember August and September were, like, some of the most exciting months, because I just was, like, being flooded with so many new ideas. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
there's not enough time in the day. Like, I couldn't even, like, go to bed. I was, like, so excited just to keep
That's
working.
so cool.
Um, but yeah, so systems were the other huge piece. And I would say the third part was, uh, values, really. That's something else that I really respect about Chad, and about what he's built in NLCA, is he's so direct and open about values. Um, and that's become something that I'm now, like, direct about and, like,
Mm,
take
yeah.
ownership on because of him. And I think, yeah, developing the core values for my company, the tenants, the mission, getting all my clients bought into that, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, you know, this is bigger than me. Like, I'm not doing
Yeah.
this. Eventually, I mean, the goal was always, like, I won't be the only one on this team too. So,
Mhm.
it's, yeah, I think that having that mission has really, really been helpful.
Yes, that is a huge part because I feel like a lot of companies, they have their core values or whatever, but they kind of just sit there and it's not
Hmm.
something that's brought up or discussed literally in every conversation or daily or whatever. It's just kind of a thing that they came up with one day and then they're there. They have that mission statement, they have their tenets, whatever. But I do think it's a really cool and like special part of NLCA how we're literally talking about the tenets and how they just come up in everyday conversation, or we shout people out based on them. And we try to not only implement them within the staff, but also within the students and how we coach. And I just think that's really something that's special and sets us apart, and something that I've taken into my own business, like you said, with really putting those front and center, like letting your clients know those, letting like your staff or future staff member know those. And this is just how we operate. This is how we make decisions. Now, not to like pop quiz you or anything, but I would just be curious. We have fairly recently changed the NLCA tenets, but do you know any of the tenets, either old or new, of NLCS?
Maybe well, actually, I don't know when you guys changed them, but
That's okay.
my understanding is act first, truth first, mission first. Is
Oh,
that it? Okay.
yeah, you killed it. Yeah, those are our technically like older ones, but
Okay.
those are all super valid.
Hmm.
Mission first, act first, truth first. Easy.
Nice.
We've just kind of revamped them a little bit. So like truth first is now constructive candor, act first
Mhm.
is intentional action, mission first is model the mission. Then we added a fourth one with 360 leadership, so that not only the leaders in the company are being leaders, but everybody in the company
Everybody.
is a leader to the left and to the right. It's 360 leadership. So that's one that we added. But I'm
Okay.
so proud. Wow, look at you killing it. That's so cool. So what are your own company tenants?
Well, so before I jump into those, can I share a little story about sort of, I
Please.
guess, like the name behind my company and the mission itself?
Yes, I would love that.
Okay, cool. So, I have you been hearing on TikTok, like how often do you think about the Roman Empire or stuff like that?
I listen, I'm old in my bones and I am not on TikTok, but I have seen it on Instagram, so probably like way
Okay,
later
yeah,
than when it was
yeah,
on TikTok, but yes.
yeah. So there's this thing where it's like guys think about the Roman Empire like
Yeah.
all the time. I
Uh-huh.
am one of those guys, and so my company's name is called Gladiator Strength. Um,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
iconic.
yeah. But essentially, what the mission behind it and the reason I love gladiators so much is because they actually didn't have like control over the challenges that they faced in the arena. Like a lot of
Mhm,
the times they were just like tossed in there and they're like, okay, there's a lion in front of you. Like, what are you going to do about it? You know?
mhm,
And I love that like they would just prepare themselves and focus on all the things they could control, regardless of whatever they're going to face in the arena the next day. And so I like to think of that as a metaphor for life now. Like life is the
mhm.
arena, and what we do in our training is to become gladiators so that we can, be prepared for whatever it is that comes our way.
Wow, I really like that. That's really dope. That has a lot of yeah, just so many similarities, like you're saying, to just life and just preparing for whatever challenges are gonna come your way, because you just never know. That's dope. So, what are the
Exactly.
type of clients you attract with that? Because I'm assuming probably not, like, busy moms that wanna be
Not
gladiators.
busy moms. Yeah,
Okay.
that, that is not my. Those are not my clients. Typically, I work with predominantly men,
Mhm,
typically in their 20s to 30s. I love like just. I mean, I'm really big on growth, drive. Always striving to be better, and so my goal is to build a community of like-minded men who also have those same values. A lot of the guys I work with are actually like really high performers in what they do. It's more so just that the health and fitness side, they've never really dialed in. And that's kind of the one thing holding them back.
yeah.
And so as soon as we unlock that, it's just like, they're like, oh my gosh, like I feel like every other part of my life is dialed in. So
Gladiator status for sure. I
that's
love
right.
that.
Yep.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yes.
I would be wait, okay, so are your programs named in the same theme?
I actually haven't thought about that. That's a great idea. I should do that.
It could be like, I don't even know. What are some Roman things? The Julius Caesar program,
Yeah.
or I don't fucking
The
know.
Marcus Aurelius. I love Stoicism too.
Yeah.
So I'll probably use the Stoic philosopher names.
Oh, yes. Okay, I love that. I love that.
That's amazing.
So, you are obviously training up gladiators. You are absolutely crushing it in your business. You are bringing on your first staff member now, is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Super
how we
exciting.
feeling? We ready for that? Have you ever managed anyone before?
I have never managed anyone. but I was an instructional coach
Mhm.
before, and I was like I was part of the leadership team at my school. So I have moderate, experience in that regard, at least of like giving somebody clear directives and knowing how to analyze their work and give them feedback,
Absolutely.
but not specifically direct management
Okay.
yet. So we're
All
building
right.
that skill right now.
This is exciting. And guys, he's a teacher, okay? Like he's got the teaching skills down, all right? You're able that and that's the hardest part is sometimes when you're new to hiring any staff members, you kind of just like throw them in there and then they're like, good luck. But with your teaching background, it can be really awesome for them to be able to receive feedback. You're, analyzing their performance, things like that, and making sure you're setting them up for success. I also love how you're a systems person. So you're not just like throwing them in there and telling them, okay, figure out how to do it. Here's like the general gist of the job. You're like, no, I have got systems. This is how we do it. You've got the
Yeah.
SOPs. And
Hmm.
obviously, Coach Jen is your coach now, and she
Yeah.
is boop, 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 boop.
Oh, we get
So
along so well. Yeah.
okay, I love that. What have
Yeah.
been because Jen has a big team, so she's got a lot of management experience, hiring experience, and I'm sure she's passed along to you. She's also very systems oriented. So, what are the best takeaways maybe that you've learned from Coach Jen so far?
Oh, best takeaways from her. I would say so. Something that I really like appreciate about her and am inspired by is that she's really good at giving like direct, um, direct feedback and also direct objectives of like what to do. And so that's something that I've, taken into as I start to learn about management is okay, I need to be super, super direct on what I expect because like it's actually kind of a carryover from teaching too, because I have to be really direct with my students on what I expect from them
Mhm,
because of how I'm going to grade them.
mhm.
If I'm not direct on the objectives, then the answers they give me are going to be all over the place, and then I'll be like, oh no, like that's on me ultimately. It's
Yeah,
not on them. So I think it's the same with management is like being very direct. Okay, this is the list of exactly how it should be done. Here are good examples. Here's why we're doing it. And then once they do that objective, then going back and giving them direct feedback as well.
wow.
Which, yeah, I think that Jen is really good at that, great at giving direct feedback, still being very like loving and caring and supportive, but also telling you what you need to hear.
I love that. No, that's definitely one of her strengths, just like being direct, being a good listener, being an active listener for
Yeah,
sure, like we keep bringing up, but also just, hey, here's where the challenge is. Here's exactly what we need to do. Here's the exact homework. Super objective. Get it freaking done. She's
exactly.
no funny business. Let's get
Yep,
it. This is great.
exactly.
I love it. So you have been through obviously a couple different programs within MLSEA. You started with our 10K Accelerator program. Now you're in your
Hmm.
Master Coach program. What was that transition like for you? Or if there's any other maybe 10K students listening, how did you know you were kind of ready to make that leap? And what's that process been like for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. How did I know I was ready to make a leap?
Yeah, there's a lot of loaded questions in that. So if we want to take it one at a time, that's fine.
um, yeah, let's see. So I knew going into NLCA that I was going to be a master coach. Like I just told myself, I was like, you're getting it, like you're getting it. You got it,
Yeah.
like just do what you need to do and like get there. And I think that's just in general in life how I like to set goals for myself is I like to just act like it's already happened
Hmm.
um, because that helps me get over my imposter syndrome because I have had lots of it throughout the process. I have it every day. Like I'm always
Mm,
thinking like, oh, I don't know if I'm qualified to do this, but whatever, I just got to do it,
yeah,
in terms of, just doing things like, I don't know, maybe even you experience it like starting a podcast too, right? It's like, this is
absolutely.
brand new for me. Like you told me that today, like this is new, I'm learning. Like I feel like that's the entrepreneurial spirit is you just kind of embrace
Really.
like doing things that you're not good at until you get good at them.
Yes.
And that's kind of how it felt. I think when I made the transition to master coach, I felt like I wasn't ready. Um,
Mm,
but like all the data was telling me that I was, and like all my coaches were telling me that I was. And
yeah.
so I just was like, okay, well, I'm doing this regardless of how I feel.
Mm,
And I think, I don't know, sometimes it can help to just, at least for me, it just helps to make decisions off of that and just
Yeah.
be like, okay, well, if the data's saying this, I'm going to do it, even if I don't feel ready. A lot of my entrepreneurial journey in this past year has been doing things before I feel ready.
Oof, those are some bars you're slaying right there. Wow. There were so many good nuggets in that. First of all, it's really funny that you brought up the podcast and like aligned it with that journey that you have been on, because I literally just made a reel last week about how every like new thing I start, I'm extremely underqualified
Yeah,
to be doing.
right.
Who gave me the audacity to make a podcast? Who gave me this mic and these headphones? I don't even know. I'm severely underqualified to be interviewing you right now for sure. But guess what? I decided I was going to do it. And I'm like, I'm going to be
Exactly.
really fucking bad at this, but I will be good at it. I know I can be good at it because
Exactly.
I'm good at talking. And that's just
Honestly, like I could say, like you're killing it in terms of like interviewing, the depth of the questions, the follow-ups. I love it. So
oh, thank
shout out
you.
to you. Already an eight podcasts in. That's amazing.
Ooh, yeah, I'm an old pro now. No, but that is my goal. I'm like, hey, I know I want to be good at this. I think I can be, and I am going to embrace the suck. So that's exactly what you have to do when you start anything new, right? When you start your business, like you were saying, and it's just a really good reminder to, especially new coaches in the space, like. Yeah, your protocols are probably going to suck at first. Your systems are going to suck. The way that you communicate with clients is going to suck. Your first hire you bring on, sorry, Zach, maybe it'll suck. I don't know. I hope yours
Who
is really
knows?
great.
Yeah.
But you learn so much
Yeah.
by going through the suck and embracing it, because if you just expect everything to be perfect right off the bat, how are you ever supposed to learn any lessons, or how are you ever supposed to improve? So honestly, I'm in the RTA syndicate that's run by Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, and one of
Oh
the
yeah.
things that they talk about is going for no, or like trying for failure, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you have to dream so big and you have to try so hard where failure is going to be inevitable eventually, but it's
Yeah.
how you learn from it. It's how resilient you are, how you bounce back is where you take the biggest lessons. So it's really dope to see that you've just totally embraced that and have jumped into things where on paper you're ready for. I think it was a really good takeaway that you said. What was it exactly? Oh,
The data.
not letting something about your feelings, like looking at the data, not making decisions based on how you feel.
Hmm.
You said it way better than I just did, but
No, no, you nailed it. Yeah. And I got that from Chad too.
okay, there we go. I love it. So yeah, when you start making decisions based on data versus how you feel, because a lot of times, even if we think about like our own fitness journeys, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so chunky today, or like I'm feeling bloated, like I need to diet, or I need to do an extra round of cardio, or in your business, like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm getting the, worst leads, or, no one has money, or, whatever. Okay, this is how you're feeling. Yeah, if you look at the data, you're improving month after month after month after month. And
Hmm.
you're like, oh, wow. Okay. It puts things into perspective. It makes things objective rather than subjective, because if you're, yeah, making decisions based on how you're feeling day to day, we're not going to be getting anywhere. So
Exactly.
we obviously just rolled out in Master Coach our new data tracking platform. How are you liking that so far? You're probably
It's
just,
really cool. Yeah. I actually was working with Jen before this came out in building my own data tracking systems. And I
who are
always
you?
was wondering like what are the main metrics that I really need to be looking at?
Hmm.
And so having it like that, just I love how it populates the graphs too. Um, Super helpful.
Yay. Okay. I'm so glad that you like it, because it's been so fun. Like working, I'm very much like numbers, data. Like I've got my
Yeah.
calculator on me, strapped at all
Is that a
times.
TI 84?
Oh, you know it. You never know when
Amazing.
you're gonna have to create a graph, you know what I mean? So
That's amazing.
I know. I'm such a freaking nerd. I literally travel with it. So,
No,
anyways,
you
I
don't.
love it.
Actually,
Literally, you can ask Jen. This came to San Diego with me. It's come to Mexico. It's come to the Bahamas. It's come, we're buddies. We're all travelers.
that
Okay.
is so amazing.
I know it's a problem. Anyways, I love data. I love numbers. Sounds like you do
Mhm. Yeah.
too, but not everybody does. So making it in a way that's easy to understand, easy to see like trends is going to be such a game changer for, again, like understanding your business and being able to make objective decisions.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm glad that's been helpful. Now, I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time here, but overall, what would you say to someone maybe checking out NLCA, maybe like nervous about NLCA, or someone that might be a student that's just kind of nervous to make the jump and invest in a mentor? What would you say to those types of people?
Hmm. Let's see. I'll have to put myself in my shoes a year ago.
Yeah.
Um, I would say a couple things. I think one is to reflect on, and honestly, this is what I would tell a client who's thinking about fitness coaching if they're on the fence. I
Mhm.
would say, really first reflect on your why. Like, why do you
Mm.
want to do this in the first place? Why is it important to you? you know, uh, what does your life look like 6 months from now if you do make this investment in yourself? What does it look like if you don't? And go through the scenario of if you don't, and really like take yourself through it, because for me, that's what spurred me into action. When I actually thought about it, I was like, okay, let's say I don't, start my own business, which has been a dream of mine that I think that feels like the right path for me. Let's say I never do it. Um, I'm like, let's say I'm 85 years old on my deathbed. I'm gonna regret that I never did that. Everybody, like, I've studied this. I don't know if you've heard this as well, but a lot of people later on in life, they regret the things they didn't do, not the things that they did. And so for me, that was just the frame that I used of like, well, what if I what if I don't do this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be proud of myself at the end of the day. I'm not going to be, proud that I'm just like, wow, okay, I just chose the easy, comfortable route. That's not in line with who I see myself as and my values. So, anyways, that's something to think about. And then the other thing too is, let's say you've made the decision of like, okay, I for sure want to start my business. Um, then I think it's about like, well, do you want to make every single mistake, or do you want to skip a lot of the mistakes? You'll still make mistakes. I've still
Yeah,
made tons of mistakes,
for
but you'll
sure.
skip a lot of mistakes and you'll fast track your success. Obviously, there's no magic pill. Like, you're not going to make $1 million overnight.
Right.
That's fake. Every overnight success is actually a 10-year project that you didn't see.
Mhm.
But I mean, you could definitely get there faster than if you didn't have guidance from somebody who's already done it and already made the same mistakes that you're about to. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
I love that. Thank you so much for those thoughts. Those are really good. And yeah, I think it comes down to that reflection for sure, because not everybody is going to, sorry, everyone listening, like, not everybody is going to be good at starting a business. Not everybody is going to be good at being a health and fitness coach or, being a CEO. Some people are really, really great staff members or employees, things like that. So
Exactly.
I think it does take definitely a decent amount of reflection on your own point to be like, okay, what does life look like if I don't do this? Like you were saying, and this is actually something that I do in my sales calls, in like a line of questioning that I ask everyone who comes in, even for my
Exactly.
fitness clients, is like, okay, what does life look like if you don't make these changes? Okay, get them to describe that. Okay, is that something that you're willing to settle for? And really thinking like, is it?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Like maybe that is good enough for me.
Right.
But maybe it's not. And if it's not, okay, why aren't you doing everything in your power to get out of a life that you are not willing to settle for? Because if you're not,
Hmm.
then you're telling yourself you are willing to settle for this. And that's
Yeah,
what life is about.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think that those were some amazing points that you brought up. And last question I have for you, Zach. Obviously, you are a world traveler. You have done skydiving. I saw. I told you I
Yeah,
would
I
do
have.
inclusion.
Yeah, wow,
You
you
have
found that.
been
Thanks.
you've done lots of dope things in your life, but what is next on the bucket list for you?
Ooh, next on the bucket list. In terms of like, what do you mean? Like adrenaline activities, or like just anything, like life goals?
I mean, yeah, you could take this in whatever way. It could be like a travel thing, it could be a crazy adrenaline thing, it could be life goal. Just what is that next like thing where you're like, I have to do this before I die? What's next on that list?
Ooh. Next on that list is scaling scaling my business up to 100 clients on the roster.
Let's go.
That's the
Well on your
goal.
way.
That's the goal.
Fuck yeah. Okay, sub item to that question. What's the craziest, most eccentric thing on your bucket list that you are excited to do?
Ooh. I I'm debating moving to South America
Okay.
for a few months. I actually decided to come back from Asia because of the time zone difference, and I was like,
Mm,
it's not feasible to scale
yeah.
when I'm 15 hours ahead of everybody that I'm serving and working with. So yeah, I think South America might be the next travel move. I don't think I'll live there like forever, but I think I do want to spend at least a couple months, maybe a year there.
What country do you know?
Um, my top three are Peru, Argentina, and Chile. So
Mhm.
I think I'm just gonna, go through there, see where I vibe the most, and
Okay.
stay there for a bit.
Amazing.
Do you
My
like to
anxiety
travel?
could never. Oh my
No?
gosh.
Why not?
I have to have a plan, Zach. I have to go in. I'm like, I'm gonna go to this city. I'm gonna stay this many nights. Here's who I know there. Here's my activities. I'm gonna make reservations at all the restaurants.
No, I never do
Oh
that.
my gosh. I need more of that.
Are you a
So,
spreadsheet traveler?
oh my god. Zach, my spreadsheets are top tier. I told you I have this calculator for a
I should
reason,
have known.
okay?
The TI-84 gave it away.
Yeah, you need to know. I can't hide it. I can't hide it. But yes, a good old travel spreadsheet never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
No, I love that you're just so free spirited. But thank you so much for coming on to the pod. My
Thanks for
first
having me.
student, my
Yeah, this
first
is great.
someone that I
First
don't
of
know.
many.
Yes. And this was a great conversation. So thank you for being that
Awesome.
inaugural student, inaugural person I don't know personally on the pod, because I think this was great and I'm excited to continue. And dude, you're crushing it. I'm excited to see where things go for you the rest of
Thank you.
2024 and beyond.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see you in Peru
that's
sometime
right.
soon.
Yeah. I'll see you at NLCA Live, that's for sure.
Oh, yes, let's go. For anyone that is like, "What the heck is NLCA Live?" Literally exactly what it sounds like. NLCA live in
In person.
action, usually in Austin, Texas, and it's such a freaking fun time. So, yes, I will see you there. Have a great week.
All right. You too. Take care.